Keith, I'm sure it was not an easy decision. What made you decide not to run for re-election?
Yeah, I mean, I was really wrestling with a whole bunch of things. First and foremost, I fundamentally believe that if you're going to do these jobs, you really have to be all in. I know just too many examples over the years where people get comfortable and they keep getting elected and they just occupy a seat. And I think that if you're serving the community well, you are in with all the energy you have. And I've done that, and it's taken a lot. And if you think about the last 4 years, we went from my campaign, which I ran probably harder than I needed to because I wanted to come off very professionally. And I think I ran a really professional campaign 4+ years ago. Then from there, we went to the override, and then from the override to the charter, and then the charter to council, hiring the first town manager, then COVID. And I just think about the last 5 years and how much I've put into it. It's a lot. So I'd say that's the primary reason, and you miss a lot when you're doing that. It's hard to keep up with my career. I've got young kids and my wife, and they've been very patient and supportive. But you've got to make sure you're able to spend time on all the things that matter in your life.
Do you think the average resident, and let's face it, we both go on social media, and I've seen you respond at times, do you think the average resident realizes how much time volunteers like yourself do put in?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I think the average resident actually thinks that this is a full-time job for me. They think that being the president of the town council is my job and I'm getting paid for it. That's what I think the average resident thinks. Those that know that it's a volunteer position, I don't think they have any idea how much time you put into it. And social media just, it amplifies it because we've worked so hard to get the message out and to make sure people are educated. And that requires that you pay attention to social media and that you respond when people have questions. And if anything, that's added time to the job.
You were not only elected to the council, you were the top vote getter. People certainly back then, and I would assume now, want Keith Lapointe leading the way.
Yeah.
What do you tell those people?
Well,
It's your turn?
yeah, well, I mean, there's a little bit of that, I guess. I think we're better served by people stepping up and new ideas. And I think too often you get complacent with a single leader. And certainly, I'm flattered by the support that I've received, and people have been generous and gracious and really helpful. And I've loved being part of the team of people that have just been a part of so much. But change is good. It's good for different people, different ideas, and I think it's not good for. This is probably overstating it, but it's not good for democracy for one person to have too much say for too long.
What are you most proud of?
Culture, I think, first and foremost. I had two goals. One was to stabilize the finances of the town, and the other was to help create a more welcoming, professional environment on the Board of Selectmen at the time, but in Town Hall in general. And I think that cultural change has been dramatic. I mean, I just look at the diversity we have on the council. It feels like a really inclusive place to be. I think Town Hall has made a lot of steps in that direction too. So the cultural change has been big.
Keith, once again, thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Mike, take me through the decision not to run for re-election.
Been working at this for quite a while, maybe even a couple years before I decided to run for selectman. Kind of put a few other things in my life on hold, and done a lot. And it was just kind of that it just made sense to kind of take a step back and take a break and kind of recollect myself, do some stuff with the family, work, it was just that time.
You also stepped out of the state representative's race.
Sure.
Not running for the same reason?
No. That was kind of a different set of circumstances. Last year was just a terrible year overall. Not just for me, just basically for everyone. The further as things progressed, it just made sense to kind of recollect myself, step back again. Yeah, that's
2020 not being a good year might have been the biggest understatement of all time. That's for sure. We spoke to Keith earlier,
Okay.
and I asked Keith, do you think the average resident has any idea how much time it takes to be an effective selectman and an effective counselor?
There is a group of people that do understand. I think when you pour yourself into something and people see results and they actually get to be part of, some of the results that we pushed forward. There's a group of people that understand. However, there's also, another group of people that either they don't care to inform themselves, they have things going on in their own lives. But I think at the end of the day, just to be truly effective, you really have to pour yourself into it. You can't just be passive. You really have to roll up the sleeves, understand what's going on, and try to do the best that you can for the town. And that just takes a ton of work, and it will wear you down.
What are you most proud of the years you served?
There's a few moments that probably stand out. I would say that when the residents got behind our 4-point plan to seriously do something about the current financial situation in the current time, as well as into the future, do something about our economic development. When the residents got behind that and they overwhelmingly gave us their support, it was such a heartfelt thing. And look where it's gotten us now. We're in such a better position. My gosh, how it was that we ended up, in this COVID situation, but had already been working on improving our financial situation, where we're not currently in a destitute situation. Not to say that the next couple years aren't going to be really touch and go, but we've put ourselves in a much better situation. I was so proud of that. And then the second thing I would say is the evening that I kind of tapped out the Board of Selectmen, that final tap of the gavel, and I turned it over to Keith Lapointe, because that meant that the charter happened. That meant that the charter went through. That was a proud moment. It was a lot of work from a lot of people, but again, that was the residents kind of, approving what we had done and understanding that we had to move forward. Those were good moments.
I have to ask this: have the voters seen the last of Michael Lennox?
Sky's the limit. You never know. It's like any politician would give an answer like that, but you just got to see what the future brings, what circumstances happen, things change. I don't know. Yeah, you just never know. If you had told me 7-8 years ago that I would have gone on this journey, been the chair of the Board of Selectmen, been one of the first counselors, in a historical fashion for this town, I'd have probably said you were crazy. And then you come out on the other end of that journey and you see what's gone on, and you got to appreciate the ride and the sights you've seen along the way and the things that have happened, and just go from there. So
Thank you, Mike.
thank you so much. Really appreciate it.